Good afternoon, everyone. This is Michael O'Malley here at the Hurricane Outlook and Discussion for June 12th, 2020, recorded around 4 p.m. Eastern Time. We're taking a look here at the latest sea surface temperature anomalies, last updated as of yesterday, June the 11th. Again, you continue to notice our Nino 3.4 region out here continues to experience a very significant decline in the sea surface temperatures. Now with the anomalies approaching a whole about 1 degree to almost in some places a full 3 degrees Celsius below the long-term average. And this has an impact for the 2020 Atlantic hurricane season because it is going to reduce the vertical wind shear across this region. It is going to promote more rising air in this area over here. It's going to produce more rising air over that part of the world, and it is going to suppress development out here in the tropical Pacific, out here in the eastern Pacific basin, and even the central Pacific basin as well. It will prevent significant development out in this region and promote substantial development out in this region. And if we're speaking of the Atlantic basin here, again, we've been talking about this over the last several weeks now. We've started to see and continue to see a transition into now what is a more classical AMO Phase 1 signature. What is a Phase 1 AMO, you might ask? It is this area right in here that has the warmer ocean temperatures than compared to average that tends to warm up the main development region. Around the Canary Islands, extending all the way back up here, it's kind of this little horseshoe type look here. And you notice that you can really see that stretching out into the MDR. That is a sign that the tropical Atlantic basin here is switching into a very favorable base state. Now, the tropical Atlantic might cool off a little bit. There is expected to be an increase in trade winds across this region here that might cool off a little bit of the MDR, but not a lot. And again, it really depends on how much. However, it is still only June 12th. And that's very important to understand because this is a very strong signal towards a very positive trend in terms of a very busy hurricane season. And obviously, for the people who don't like hurricanes, this is a very bad sign for them. And this has the potential to be a decent hurricane season, in my personal opinion. And I believe many other people as well think much of the same. You almost notice that this Phase 2 look here of the AMO signature has almost completely gone away at this point. We still have a little bit of those remnants left within there, but we are now more than seeing more of this Phase 1 AMO signature beginning to set up here, which favors the warming of the main development region, as well as the Caribbean as well, pretty much above, right at or above the long-term average here as well. Now, if we take a look here at the upper ocean heat content values, this was updated this morning. Again, once you start getting up into these greens, oranges, and reddish colors here, that's your warmer water at depth. That's the more ability for latent heat release and the more potential for tropical cyclones to take advantage of that environment. And again, you're really seeing that blossom over here in portions of the southwestern Atlantic here in the Caribbean and up through the Gulf of Mexico. This area is the hot spot for this time of the year with the deeper upper ocean heat content values that typically is in the areas that we're seeing in right now. Now, we've not really seen much out here yet, but it's June 12th, and we typically don't expect to see that there. So, but we are seeing this area in the far south MDR here, the main development region, beginning to heat up. It's beginning to get that deeper and deeper upper ocean heat content values. And that's very significant because that is going to allow these tropical waves that come off, if any come off right now at about less than 10 north, they have decent upper ocean heat content to work with. If the Saharan air isn't all that bad, if there's enough shear, you could get some early season development out here. And it wouldn't shock me completely to see one or two systems that do form in this area by the time we get through late July. It would not shock me at all to see one or two named storms or even tropical depressions form out in that region, almost like in 2017, how we saw a very early tropical wave that became Brett out here in the tropical Atlantic. This is this is pretty much on par in terms of the upper ocean heat content values for 2017. So just kind of as a rough comparison there. Now, getting on real quick here, again, we are setting up unmanned camera systems along the coastlines here in front of hurricanes this year. This is going to be the first year that we are going to be testing this equipment. It may not be along the coast yet. It may be very locally driven right now. But if you guys do want to check out more of what we're doing, again, here's my Twitter, again, MikeRomali1. You guys can go follow me. You guys can go see, what I'm up to and stuff like that. I have a lot of good information on here. If you guys really want to go check this out, you guys can do that. Again, we are going to be setting up this year for the first operational run at doing this. And hopefully you guys will be able to see some of the testing. Again, these will be unmanned camera systems that will be placed out in front of landfalling tropical cyclones, so you guys can see the raw power and fury of tropical cyclones as they make landfall. So if you guys do want to check that out and support it, make sure you guys go follow my Twitter and see what I'm doing over there. Now, taking a look here at the actual sea surface temperatures coming off of tropicaltidbits.com. This is the CDAS methodology. It's just a different way of measuring the water temperatures here. Again, we continue to see mainly this area now favoring the upper 20 Celsius here. We're starting to see about 28, 29, even some 30 Celsius now in the far southwestern Atlantic, in the Bahamas. The skin temperatures right off the coast here of South Carolina and Florida, and really the North Carolina Outer Banks is starting to warm up. So far right here off the northeast coast, it is still cooler, but again, this area is going to warm up. This is the Gulf Stream that kind of runs through here. So again, it's very important to understand that this area is more than favorable in the thermodynamic sense for tropical cyclones to develop. And if you look out here in the far portions here of the tropical Atlantic basin, again, where we've been talking about this 50 West area, well, let's try to draw a little bit more of a straighter line. This 50 West region that goes through here, now we're starting to see that back building here in terms of the sea surface temperatures. This area will begin to warm up pretty substantially as we go through the rest of June and into July. Again, yes, we might get some cooler waves that do come off here because of some stronger trade winds that is going to be blowing across this region over the next several weeks. But for the large majority sense here, this area right now, south of the main development region, really anywhere between about 10 to 15 north here, is now conditionally supportive of tropical cyclones, at least in the skin sea surface temperatures. And certainly once you start getting out here into the far western portions of the main development region and the Atlantic basin, that typically now is where we're going to look for. So this area, again, we have already had strong tropical waves that have come across here. And again, it's only a matter of time. It's a ticking time bomb, and it's only really a matter of time before we start to get something back. So again, very important to understand that this is going to be a fairly active hurricane season. Now, taking a look here at the 850 millibar vorticity, this is a spin in the atmosphere about 5,000 feet off the ground. Once you start getting up and towards these reds and whites here, you're starting to get the more cyclonic spin in the atmosphere. Not really a lot going on here across the tropical Atlantic or the eastern Pacific basin as well. Actually, there's no outlined areas from the central Pacific hurricane season, from the eastern Pacific basin or the Atlantic basin over the next 5 days. It is going to be a quiet pattern that we're starting to go into. Again, the wind shear across the tropical Atlantic and even portions of the eastern Pacific for that matter, still running pretty high, and again will be for at least a little bit longer before we start to see a real change in the environmental conditions across here. Still getting a lot of these westerly winds that are digging across this area, and that should continue to go on here for the next while, typically in through the latter half of June or July. And then after that time, the trade winds begin to relax, and we now will start to see that favorability pattern towards the end of July. But again, it wouldn't completely surprise me to see a couple one or two systems try to flare up here, in the month of July. Wouldn't surprise me at all. Again, quick look here at the GFS forecast from tropicaltidbits.com, the 850 vorticity here. This is the analysis that's now valid as of 1 o'clock this afternoon, heading out towards tomorrow now. Again, really throughout the next 120, really for that matter, 150 hours, there's just nothing expected in this part of the world at all. The European forecast model here, again from Tropical Tidbits, again, nothing really kicking off here, even through hour 240 here through the remainder of pretty much the latter half of June. So again, we are now heading into a much quieter pattern at this point. We are going to be heading into a quieter time right now. So we are going to take some time to start getting our camera systems ready. We have a lot of preparation to do for that. Again, if you guys do want to go support the work that we're doing, make sure to go check out the Twitter here. Make sure you guys go check that out because we are going to be giving a lot of insight and information and just a bunch of good information here regarding the camera systems, regarding what we're doing here. We're working on a lot of behind the scenes projects to get ready for this, for the start really of the ramp up of the hurricane season. So we're working on a lot here this year. Again, we have a lot to cover. We're probably going to take the weekend off because we got to get these camera systems. As you can imagine, these take a lot of time and effort to get these running. We have to get the GoPro running. We have to get the, Pelican case, ready. We have to, cut, some holes into it, make some modifications, all that sort of jazz. So again, we're going to be doing a lot here over the next several days. So likely we're going to be taking a break here over Saturday and Sunday. We might push out an update on Sunday here, a very quick one, maybe 5 or so minutes. But again, for the most part, I'll throw out some tweets here and there on Twitter again. So make sure you guys go follow that. If you guys really want to see what I'm doing here with these camera systems, we'll be getting into more information about how they work and how they operate here. So if you guys check that out, again, hope y'all have a great rest of your afternoon and evening, and I hope y'all have a great rest of your start of the weekend and finish to the weekend. I am Michael Romali, and I will see you guys here back either on Sunday or Monday. Stay safe, everyone.